Now, you've got to keep in mind how the history works here. Jeremiah is speaking to the people in what was the southern kingdom, the kingdom of Judah, the people of Jerusalem and thereabout. And he's warning them that if they don't change their ways, they will be militarily overcome. The temple of God itself will be destroyed. The temple that Solomon built, it will be leveled to the ground, and these people will be taken captive. And he's telling them, or the Lord is telling them through Jeremiah, why he's so upset with them. When we were reading 2nd Isaiah last semester, we were reading the lamentations of the people after this had happened and after they had been taken captive into Babylon. This is before 586 BC, or right about then. It hasn't quite happened, and Jeremiah is sounding the alarm. Now, this tells you, because this is God talking. Hear the word of the Lord, all you people of Judah who come through these gates to worship the Lord. This is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. Reform your ways and your actions, and I will let you live in this place. Do not trust in deceptive words and say, this is the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord. It's kind of like, I'm a super Catholic. I go to Mass. I go to Mass. I go to Mass. He's saying, shut up. You care that this is the temple of the Lord? Guess what? I'm going to let it be leveled to the ground because I don't care about this being the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord. I care about you and your hearts and the way you live. If you really change your ways and your actions and deal with each other justly, if you do not oppress the foreigner, the fatherless or the widow, and do not shed innocent blood in this place, all things they had been doing. And if you do not follow other gods to your own harm, then I will let you live in this place in the land I gave your ancestors forever and ever. But look, you are trusting in deceptive words that are worthless. Will you steal and murder, commit adultery and perjury, burn incense to Baal, the pagan god, and follow other gods you have not known, and then come and stand before me in this house, which bears my name? Jeremiah is going to be addressing the people who have come in the temple. And God is saying, are you going to steal, murder, commit adultery and perjury, and then have the gall to come into my temple, the temple of God, and say, we're safe? Safe to do these detestable things? Has this house, which bears my name, become a den of robbers to you? But I have been watching, declares the Lord. You really think, you hypocrites, that you can claim to follow me and that I won't see what you're really doing? I've been watching you. How dare you act as if you're religious people? Go now to the place in Shiloh where I first made a dwelling for my name, before the temple was built, when there was still the Ark of the Covenant and the tent or the tabernacle that housed it. Go to Shiloh and see what I did. Well, in so many words, he says, Shiloh is no more. Why? Because of how they behaved. And yet, he says, you're not harming me. Are they not rather harming themselves to their own shame? I don't care. I'm God. It doesn't affect me, but it affects you. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. My anger and my wrath will be poured out on this place, on man and beast, on the trees of the field, and on the crops of your land. It will burn and not be quenched. And then this is very important. I'm just going to skip to this one. You know, in 1 John today, John says, I'm not giving you a new commandment. I'm giving you a commandment you've always known was there. Here's a quote that shows you Jesus doesn't come out of nowhere. Jesus is the embodiment of everything that God tried to teach his people in the Old Testament. It's not that the Old Testament God was angry and Jesus is kind, because Jesus says what God here, the Father, is about to say. For when I brought your ancestors out of Egypt and spoke to them, I did not just give them commands about burnt offerings and sacrifices, but I gave them this command: obey me, and I will be your God, and you will be my people. Walk in obedience to all I command you, that it may be well with you. This is the whole problem of the Pharisees in the New Testament. They think that the external observance of the laws of Moses, burnt offerings, grain offerings, uh, fasts, and various Jewish religious observances and dates and so forth, they think that that's where it's at. And here, way back in the time of Jeremiah, almost 600 years before the birth of Jesus, God is saying, do you really think that I care about all of these minutiae, the kinds of sacrifices you're supposed to make at the temple? What I care about is your obedience. I care about your hearts. And the law of Moses is supposed to help them reform their hearts. But these people, and people like us, say, oh no, as long as I've got my checklist, natural family planning, check. Go to Mass every day, check. Meanwhile, I can be as hateful and despicable and cheating and dirty and rotten and filled with venom as I want to be, because I've got the checklist checked. And God is saying, here's what I think of your checklist, and he crumples it up and throws it into the fire. He cares about who we are on the inside. And then if we do good, well, it comes from an organic source. It comes from the proper root. Because look at what they have been doing. First of all, he says they did not listen or pay attention. Instead, they followed the stubborn inclinations of their evil hearts. This is a question of the heart. And then he says, the people of Judah have done evil in my eyes, declares the Lord. They have set up their detestable idols in the house that bears my name and defiled it. They have built the high places of Topheth in the valley of Ben Hinnom to burn their sons and daughters in the fire, something I did not command, nor did it enter my mind. It's so bad that they are sacrificing their own children to the false gods. They are burning their children alive to placate Topheth at this location, to placate this god. I mean, you might call it a culture of death. And God is saying through Jeremiah, I have had enough. You're the ones who are suffering, not me. And I'm going to allow all of this to be taken from you because you are proud and filled with yourselves, because you think you're following my regulations when you're merely doing things on the outside and your hearts remain full of corruption. And you come into the temple that bears my name, having committed murder and adultery and thievery, and you think, I don't know? He cares about our hearts. Conversion is a complete turning around from the inside out. That's not just something that Jesus says. That was preached to the people from the prophets in Jeremiah's time and prior. The Bible is one book, and this is one of its main messages.